Hey, I'm Steve, the MG EV guy. I've had a few comments specifically asking me what the costs of this build were, and I thought it was worth taking a few minutes to talk about that exact thing. Now, every build is going to be a little different depending on what you're looking for, particularly when it comes to features and range. I'm going to tell you what I built and what those costs are. Another thing I'm going to recommend is that while you can buy all these parts off the shelf, I found a number of different suppliers that could provide all this stuff. You're probably best off to work with somebody who can put a kit together for you. They'll know how all the parts should go together. In many cases, they can provide you with a good schematic, and they can help you with things like sourcing a motor mount so you can actually bolt the EV motor onto your existing transmission. I worked with Canadian Electric Vehicles, and they were great at helping me put this kit together, but there's lots of places that can do that. So let me walk you through some of these costs, and I've also done a bit of an analysis for what the 10-year ICE versus EV costs are. And here they are. So the first thing you're going to have to decide on, and the second most expensive part of your build, is your motor. Now, most of the time the motor is going to come with a controller and most of the other parts to wire the motor up. In this case, I used an AC50, and the cost of that motor today is around $5,000. If we look at the other key components, an Orion BMS2 is around $1,000. An Expert Pro, which is the car-mounted interface, is $270. A motor mount is $1,000. The charger in this case was $900. The DC to DC, $250. And then I'd factor in an additional $1,000 or so for the assorted cables that you're going to need to put it all together. Batteries are the hugest variable in any kind of build. I built my car to go 90 miles. That was an important distance for me. It gets me up to Georgian Bay from Toronto. But you might not want that. You might be looking for something that is just a great city car. You know, I spent about $8,500 to go 90 miles, but you could easily build a 30-mile car, you know, for closer to $3,000 in batteries. And plus you'd have less wiring and you would have less weight in the car. So again, depending on what you're looking for, you can really dial up or down the battery cost. In this case, I also bought new. I bought lithium ion phosphate. They are a robust battery. And you have to figure in, if you're looking at new batteries, a cost of around $1,000 per 12 miles of travel. So you can see obviously that 36 miles, $3,000, 120 miles, $10,000. It's quite scalable. Now there is a little bit of upside when you're spending all this money in that you can sell the parts that are coming out of your car. Now how long this is going to last for, I don't know. I read a lot of articles that say that soon there'll be a surplus of these old vintage parts and nobody's going to want them. It'll be like trying to sell your CD collection at the used record store. What you used to be able to get $8 or $10 for is now worth 50 cents. In any case, I managed to get about $1,000 for my engine, rad, and exhaust, but there were lots of other parts that came off the car, like the starter, the alternator. You can get a lot of extra money if you can be resourceful in your selling. So if we look at the total costs, we're at about just under $17,000 for this conversion. Plus you'll have to pay for any help or modifications required in the build. I did work with somebody. I didn't include that cost here because the price is so variable. And we did a little bit of welding to fit the batteries in over the rear axle, which added a few bucks. But those are very car specific, and if you have the skills, you won't need to bring anybody else in. And if you have no skills, you're going to end up spending a little more on help. The running costs, I think, are important to look at because this is the second question I get from people when they ask me, what does it all cost? And I base this on only running 3,000 miles a year, which if you're running a classic, that's probably average. I drive my car a lot. I'll probably do 10,000 miles this year. So my running costs are going to be quite a bit lower over time. Now, I base this on the price of electricity right now here in Toronto and the price of gas at the pumps right now here in Toronto. Obviously, those prices vary as well. But the cost to go 3,000 miles is $540 in gas and about $41 for electricity. I've also factored in maintenance costs, which to be fair for an EV are zero. I'm only talking about the regular maintenance cost of a combustion vehicle. One oil change, one tune-up, and then 2 major projects amortized over 10 years. So what I'm talking about there is having to replace something in your electrical system or an exhaust or something else that's going to equal $3,000 over 10 years. So that adds $300 if you amortize it over 10 years, and you end up with an additional $460 a year. So a gas car per year is going to cost you around $1,000 to run, and the EV is going to cost you $41 to run. And so if you think about the true cost of owning one of these things over 10 years, well, the gas car is going to cost you $10,000 and the EV is going to cost you $17,000. So clearly an EV is considerably more expensive. I wouldn't suggest otherwise. But you are getting all these great things, which I talk about in my other videos. Even simply never having to worry about or do another oil change might be worth that extra money for you. Or knowing that your car will always start cold, or many of the other reasons that I've outlined. Anyway, those are the costs of this car. If you have any specific questions you'd like to ask, go ahead and shoot me a note and I'll reply. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope your batteries are full and the roads are empty. Cheers.